I mean, think about it like this. As a parent, and you're charged to keep your children safe, your house becomes a tyranny, doesn't it? Mine did. Mine was a tyranny. In fact, my kids one time said, "Can't we vote on it?" And I said, "Oh, this is a tyranny. This isn't a republic. It's my law, it's my way. I feed you, I clothe you, I house you. You are under my authority and under my protection. If you don't like that, turn 18, get a job, move out." It's that simple. Then you're under your own protection and authority, right? So we have a tendency as parents, if we have to keep them safe, and we've got this idea that we have to keep them safe, we become tyrants. Well, what do you think it is every time we tell the government that, well, it's for public safety and the government's got to keep us safe? No, the government has no obligation to keep me safe. None. None whatsoever. Safety is my responsibility, not the responsibility of the government. That's why liberty isn't safe. You kind of have to do it yourself. So, if our government then keeps being told by we the people that somehow they got to keep us safe and they're responsible to keep us safe and that we want to be dependents, what do you think they're going to do? Do what any parent would do. If I got to keep them safe, I want to know everything that's going on. I want to know who you're hanging out with. I want to know, no, your cell phone's off at 10 o'clock. You got a curfew when you got to be in. I want to know what you're watching on TV. I want to take a look at your homework. I want to make sure you're doing all the things you're supposed to do. So when the government becomes like that to us, why are we so upset? If we want safety and we want to be dependents, that's how dependents are treated. That's the only way the authority can keep you protected, right? Is to be a tyrant. I don't want the government to be my parent. I don't need a parent. I don't need to be a dependent. I need to be left alone so that I can take care of the dangerousness of the liberty that I choose. Plain and simple. 11. All which they must humbly pray of your most excellent majesty as their rights and liberties, according to the laws and statutes of this realm, and that your majesty would also vouchsafe to declare that the awards, doings, and proceedings to the prejudice of your people and any other premises shall not be drawn hereafter into consequence or example, and that your majesty would be also graciously pleased for the further comfort and safety of your people to declare your royal will and pleasure, that in the things aforesaid all your officers and ministers shall serve you according to the laws and statutes of this realm, as they tender the honor of your majesty and the prosperity of this kingdom. Which petition being read on the 2nd of June, 1628, the king's answer was thus delivered unto it. The king willeth that right be done according to the laws and customs of the realm, and that the statutes be put in due execution, that his subjects may have no cause to complain of any wrong or oppressions, contrary to their just rights and liberties, to the preservation whereof holds himself as well obliged as of his prerogative. Now there was a little problem with the king doing that. Notice how all these things start in a certain way, and then they're written a certain way, and then there's always a salutation a certain way. Well, there was a custom in which the king was supposed to accept these papers that are written, these documents. And he didn't do this one that way. And if you can see up on the screen there in yellow, it's a Latin word, which I will not try to pronounce, but that is the Latin word that fit the process by which the king was supposed to accept these papers. So this form was unusual and was therefore thought to be an evasion. See, they didn't trust Charles, so they figured he was doing some political scheme to kind of weasel his way out from underneath it. So therefore, on June 7th, the king gave a second answer in the formula usual for approving bills, which is that French word, or I'm sorry, not the French word, but the Latin word, which means right done as it is his desire. And that is the British Bill of Rights, of 1628. So do you see how we keep building on to these self-evident truths? That the people have the divine right to liberty. That all law comes from God, first off. And that for something to be right, for it to not be evil and tyrannical and oppressive, those that make the law, those that adjudicate the law, and those that execute the law must be under the same law as the subjects, the same law as the people. Do we see that today? That's a rhetorical question. You think about that yourself. You make that right in your own hearts and mind. As for me, I think we're a long way away from the rule of law. We were supposed to be a nation of laws, not of men. And very quickly, we are becoming a nation of men, where people with certain powers and privileges can skirt the law, and those that don't have the money for justice don't get justice. I see it way too often. And we knew all the way back in the 1100s, all the way back to 1044, that that's evil and oppressive. But we started to be able to identify those things, and we started giving it names, and we started putting it into the law. We started putting the people and all the people under the law. So this is an important thing that we start to see. Now, at this point in time, England is starting to become a constitutional monarchy. It's starting to become a constitutional constitutional monarchy. And still at this point in time, it is the most complex governmental system in Europe. So we can thank the heritage of our Anglo-Saxons for bringing about this idea of liberty and putting it down on paper and bringing it to the point that our founders studied from history, studied the documents, and were divinely inspired to bring about this country. So are there any other questions on the Petition of Right?
I'm not sure if it fits with that, but it keeps coming back to me. You should be a jury of your peers. Is that people that know you?
Exactly. That's the problem is with jurisprudence today is we've gotten completely away from the law. We've gotten to case precedent law. We've gotten to, in law school, they don't teach the Constitution. They teach constitutional law, which is case precedent, which says that as long as we've made a decision and other cases are close to that, that we can take that argument as the argument for yours. And I reject that wholly. Each incident has its own specific set of facts, circumstances, and people involved, personalities and everything. And we all know that each and every one of us, created in God's own image, is an absolute individual, separate from anyone else. There's no one else just like me.
So how did we get away from that, to where you don't have to know anything?
The slow boiling of the frog, taking us to a democracy of socialism through the 20th century. Remember, the courts weren't supposed to have any power, and somehow they've usurped it. And we as people have not done our job even with the courts, and put the courts into place. See, a judge is not higher than we the people. We the people are higher than the judge. We the people are even higher than the Supreme Court justices. Now, I know they don't like to hear that. That would hurt their feelings greatly, but it's the truth. In fact, the grand jury is the highest authority. The grand jury is a constitutional fixture of its own. But it was never given, you'll never see it in Article 1, Article 2, or Article 3 of the Constitution. In fact, you don't even see the grand jury until Article 5 of the Bill of Rights. That's because the grand jury belongs 100% to the people, not any branch of government. And Judge Scalia ruled in the Williams case that grand juries don't even have to operate like a criminal jury. We don't have to have probable cause. We don't even have to identify a crime that we're looking for. We don't even have to identify who we believe committed a crime. In fact, a grand jury can come together and investigate just for the peace of mind that there isn't any funny business going on within the first three branches of government. Isn't that crazy?
Don't you think that's why they come up with it? Was that very basic?
Because we the people are the very source of the granting of power to the government. Remember, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they're endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just power from the consent of the governed. So we the people institute government. Government does not lord over we the people. We the people institute government. If I can institute something, can I end something?
Yeah.
Absolutely. It says further in the Declaration of Independence that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it. Setting up new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to enable their safety and happiness, right? So again, we the people. It is to the great body of the people. The people are the source of all of the power within government. It's not the king. It's not the law. It's the people. We the people. The problem is, Franklin said you have a republic if you can keep it. We failed to keep it. We started to look at certain things as our authority, our parent, and we've started to give up our liberty because it's dangerous and we want the promise of security as dependence. And we've been conditioned, like Pavlov's dog, to that end. It's it in a nutshell. So, any other questions? Thank you very much for coming tonight. I'm sorry we got started a little bit late, but I think we're done a little early. It's not going to be the same when it comes to the early American history. I've got 55 slides, I think, on that we've got to go over because we have to understand what was going on in America at that time. And that's after we get done with these genealogical documents. We're going to get into that. So that night's going to be a little bit long, but I'll try to be here early and start right on time on that one. So thank you all for coming. Be safe. Remember to turn your phasers back to kill because we come in peace. Shoot to kill.